Oh, hey, you look like you could use some LEDs. I got a lot of LEDs in here. Come on, get in my van. Let's go, come on. Hey guys, long time no see. I've actually been pretty busy working on this big white turd right here and actually uploading a lot of videos on my other channel. I will talk more about that later on in this video. However, Richie Arnold has sent me a cool little custom light bar for the TW200 to test out. So let's go ahead and check this thing out. For starters, let's go ahead and see how bright this little LED light bar really is. And let's do a familiar comparison. I just got my stock 4Runner low beams on right now, and then we'll switch to high beams. And this is that little LED light bar. So I would say that is pretty bright. It's definitely a lot cooler color temperature. Guys, I definitely recommend wearing some safety glasses whenever working on stuff. For starters, I'm gonna remove the front fairing and the LED headlight that I have on here. And I have another video specifically on these type of headlights. So if you wanna check that out, it should be up in the corner. So my old auxiliary lights have been beaten up pretty good. And this one like flickers kind of on and off. So I'm just gonna get rid of them. In a previous video, I installed this little switch cluster that Richie Arnold also made and sent me, and it's just got a little switch and a voltage display with USB. And I like this tied directly into the battery so I can check the voltage without turning the key on. And the red lights will remind me to turn it off when I'm done. But for this light bar install, I wanna see if we're gonna be able to tie it into the high beam circuit. So let's go ahead and check the wattages. Right now it's hooked up to the OEM high beam filament style bulb. Volts times amps gives us the wattage. And the stock high beam is a whopping 81 watts. Here's the LED high beam, only 31 watts. Here's the light bar, which is using 23 watts. These two combined is only 54 watts versus a whopping 81. So here's the LED light bar with the custom made brackets, and these little spacers I believe are 3D printed, and he actually uses like a carbon fiber reinforced 3D filament, so it's super strong. And it's the same stuff he uses for his switch clusters as well. But it came in the box all together, and it's got these spacers that are actually threaded. It might be a little awkward to tighten down. And it also comes with the Allen keys to tighten up the sides and take it apart if you need to. And he also included some quick splices, and I'm just not a fan of quick splices, especially in automotive. I've just seen them intermittently cause problems, even in like professionally aftermarket installed stuff at work. But I'm not gonna use those, but if you wanna try, you can. It shouldn't be too hard to install this thing. So it pretty much mounts on to these lower fork bolts, and we can just remove them with a 12mm. Make sure these side bolts are not too tight so you can kind of move them. Make sure the wire goes upwards, and you might have to loosen those a little bit. And make sure to thread them in by hand. Don't try to use the power tool. I just use that to take them off. And they're getting kind of tight, so let's go ahead and loosen these side bolts up. And with just the included Allen key, there we go. That's feeling a lot better. Make sure these threaded spacers are pretty close to the bolt head. All right, we kind of have them snugged up against the clamps. Keep in mind the new bolt heads are 13mm, not 12mm. But let's go ahead and kind of snug these guys up. They don't have to be super tight yet, just so it doesn't change the angle of these brackets, because we want it to be all aligned. So the fork clamp bolts need to be torqued down to 23 Newton meters. So I'm gonna just start with the bolt on top. Oh, you can really see that starting to flex a little bit. So that's 23 Newton meters, but is it actually putting that torque into the clamp, or is it the bolt and the sleeve? That's the thing that I'm kind of worried about. So I got a crow's foot, and I'm just gonna check this as well. So that should be actual torque onto the clamp. And then if we go back to the bolt itself, it's like it kind of makes it loose again. And back to the crow's foot. I guess you could just kind of go back and forth, and that should be good. You can see the brackets, especially this one, is a little bit crooked. You might try like a piece of cardboard and a hammer to kind of just straighten it out a little bit, but just make sure they're torqued down properly. Make sure they have equal spacing between the top and the bottom. Not a bad idea to make sure the top bolts are torqued down to spec while we're here. And now we can wire this thing up. And since I'm just gonna be running it off the high beam circuit, I'm gonna go ahead and use the connector that I already wired up a while back for my light pods. And I might actually want that other end of the connector back. Oh my goodness, where did that go? I think I actually lost it in the bushes. Found it. I'll just cut the connector off as close as I can to where I had those splices at. Pull off the electrical tape and strip those with my automatic wire strippers. I'll start by zip tying the light bar wire to this little frame that supports the headlight and the instrument cluster and stuff. I want a little bit of slack, but don't need a crazy amount, so it has room to swivel up and down. And I'll just plug this in. So the wiring for this light bar is basically inside this shielding, just like the one on the connector, which is kind of nice because it protects it. But I'm gonna go ahead and try to pull back the sheathing. There we go. And I'll just rip it back to about there and just cut it off. And then the negative, I'll just cut right about there, so we have a bit left over. And I'll go ahead and strip a little bit of that. Twist those strands together, and I'm just gonna use a non-insulated butt connector. Use my good Klein crimpers, best crimpers ever. Make sure to use the non-insulated section. And a tug test. And I'm just gonna use a little bit of marine grade heat shrink. Just go a little past the crimp and clip it right there. Put this on before you crimp the other side. This is gonna go to the negative high beam. Nice quality crimp. Give it a tug test. Slide the heat shrink over. Make sure the heat shrink is pretty much in the center. And I'm just gonna use a Bic lighter to shrink this down. And I'm just gonna keep heating it until the adhesive starts oozing out the sides. It's nice and waterproof. This is about the right length to get up to the switch. It already came stripped, but it's a bit too long, so I'm gonna cut a good amount of these strands off. And then I have these Spade connectors with this special crimp, and these are the perfect size for these little switches. The crimping part has a smaller bit that clamps onto the conductor, and then a bigger one that clamps onto the insulator, so it gives you a nice strong connection. And this style of crimper does like both at the same time. And this looks like a 1mm size. I like to twist these strands together so we don't have any stragglers. And stick that in there and crimp it down. And that is a nice solid crimp. Guys, I really need to make like a more detailed video. I'll probably do it on my other channel where I show all the different kind of connections and tools that you can use to do some, you know, really high quality wiring. For the Spade connectors, I use a non-adhesive lined heat shrink because I don't want it to get like filled with glue, cause connection problems. I'll just size this up right here, toss this on, and go all the way to the end of the Spade, maybe a little bit past because it's gonna shrink. This shrinks much faster than the adhesive kind. Perfect. Okay, I had a piece of scrap kind of wire laying around. It's more pink, black stripe, but close enough. And I'm just gonna go ahead and strip both ends, except one end is gonna be fairly short for the Spade connector. And just like before, use a non-insulated crimp on one end and crimp it to the positive on the connector from the high beam. Slide on an adhesive lined heat shrink and shrink it down. Another 4.8mm Spade connector. Next, for the small LED indicator light, I'm just gonna daisy chain because I have this wire from last time left over, and I got 2 more wires about the same size. All sides are stripped except just one end. And this side, I'm just gonna twist together, crimp it down, and then connect it to the extra wire that I have left over. Make sure it's crimped down nice and good. And I have not had a problem with these Klein crimpers whatsoever. And then another 4.8mm Spade connector. Nice and solid, adhesive lined heat shrink. And cover this Spade connector like before. And tape these 2 positive wires together just to kind of help clean things up. It's nice to have it this way so you can disconnect everything and remove the light bar when you're working on the bike, so you don't have to like cut any wires. But we'll go ahead and stick these back up here. For the light bar switch, I'm gonna use an amber color indicator LED. The other one was red, but I just wanna make them all different colors so I know which one's which. Use just a little bit of dielectric grease on the switch contacts. So basically there's this brass colored one and then 2 silver ones. And the brass is the indicator ground and the other 2 are just positive, and it really doesn't matter which one goes where because it just moves through the switch. So I'll use some needle nose pliers. It is a little bit tight. There's the indicator on the brass colored pin. Kind of wiggle it a little bit if it's not going on. You just kind of push that switch in and hopefully it'll work. I'll throw a little bit of electrical tape over the indicator ground for the next thing I'm gonna install, which should be heated grips. And for that, I'm gonna have a relay set up. So it's gonna be a little more involved. I'll just protect it for now. And let's go ahead and test this out. High beam is on. Let's flip the switch. And it works. The indicator works. And the way we have this wired up, when I turn off the high beam, the light bar goes off with it. Cool. All right, now I'm just gonna kind of clean the wiring up and maybe use a zip tie or 2. Okay, now we can reinstall the LED headlight. Don't forget to adjust it. Once I get it where I want, I'll tighten it down and install the front fairing. We got it all back together. Now we just gotta angle the light in the exact position we want it. Something like that, it's probably pretty good. Once you got it where you want it, just tighten it down. Definitely gonna wanna hold it while you tighten it so it doesn't move. All right guys, here we are out here in the forest. I got the exposure locked on my camera, and right now we're looking at the low beam, and switch it to just the high beam. It's a little bit better, and then we'll throw on the light bar. There we go. That light bar definitely makes a difference. And let's see the same test on the street. Let's go for a night ride, shall we? This is just a low beam, and it's actually quite terrifying riding fast through here. Just the low beam, and there we go. Here's the high beam. It's definitely not bad. I always just thought the high beam could have had a little bit more. And then we'll flip on the light bar. It's definitely nice for hauling through the forest here. Guys, I'll be honest, I haven't been riding much at all this summer. I've kind of been working on the van build, and I have been putting out videos on my other channel. It's definitely a lot of work, but I'm pretty much building the whole van from the ground up. I've kind of stripped everything. I kind of miss riding the TW. I really need to just ride it some more, even if I'm not filming new videos, because I have so many videos still from this channel to edit, and I kind of want to get through all of those, but it kind of works out so I can really focus on the van, and then I already have content for the TDubsKid channel to edit. Oh, I love this little rock right here. Also, since I'm like really interested in living van life, I tried living in my 4Runner for a whole week with my TW200 on the back, and I still went to work and everything, and I actually vlogged the whole thing. I just need to edit it, but I'll show you guys a little bit of that. So yeah, it was pretty cool, and I really enjoyed that. Van life totally seems like my thing. I don't know if I would live it like full-time 100%, but maybe like 70%. But yeah, my plan is to get the van fully painted by late fall or early winter, and then I'm gonna do like all the mechanical work I want to do to it. It's mostly all like preventative, and also all the like steering and suspension stuff is a little worn out, so I got to replace all that, and I got to finish restoring the frame and getting rid of all the rust. I already fixed the rusty floor under the driver's seat, which was the only rust on the inside that I really found, and it wasn't that bad compared to a lot of vans that are like rusted all the way through in huge areas. But that was pretty fun, and I got to fix a little bit of rust on the quarter panel before I paint it and stuff like that. But yeah, once I get like the rear frame restored, I'm gonna put a hitch receiver on it. It's probably like a class 4, because that van can like haul 10,000 pounds. But that's perfect for like throwing the TW on the back, and then hopefully by next summer the van will be like fully mechanically and paint work wise all done, and I can actually do like some more camping trips and stuff in it, even though the inside won't be done. But I can just kind of build the inside as I go. But yeah, guys, if you're interested in the van stuff, be sure to check out my other channel called 4-Wheel Kid. So I do like more car related stuff, anything with 4 wheels. I'm gonna hit this jump. Oh yeah. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna go find some like actual OHV trails and maybe ride those a little bit. Here we are on a smaller OHV trail. Here's the low beam, and then high beam, and then high beam with the light bar. That makes quite a difference for sure. And it's so much nicer riding trails with this light bar. Yep, the more light the better. It's hanging in there, but it might change adjustment if I go over bumps too fast. Or maybe it's just me, I don't know. Definitely gonna have to spend some more time with it. But that would be the only downside, is even with it like nice and tight, it still will move some. I mean, in some way it's nice because you can adjust it really quickly, but if it changes when you go over bumps and stuff, that's kind of not the best. But if you guys have any ideas of how to fix that, I'm thinking like maybe like some a really thin rubber gasket or something, or even just a tiny layer of hot glue in between where all those pieces come together, because there's just not enough friction to hold it super tight. Oh, that's a big puddle. I don't want to get my feet wet. It's a little bit chilly up here. It's the best smell in the world of like wet forest at night. That's so nice. I can't even describe it. It's something you just have to experience for yourself. It's so nice. Well, anyways, guys, I'm just gonna have a little bit more fun and then head back home because I gotta work tomorrow. But I love being able to go do stuff like this after work. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think of the new light bar, and of course I will leave a link down below to where you can go find it, and the switch clusters as well. He has a few different kinds. But yeah, Richie Arnold with TDubsKid makes some pretty cool stuff for the TW. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful, but I will catch you next time. Peace out.